All right, guys, we're live. We're back. We're back. We're back. We are going to be going fast on this one, as fast as we can get, because I got a hard stop. But we will have another show tomorrow to pick up where we left off. I apologize that it's been a minute. I have an enormous amount on my plate, and I have just really, between the scaling stuff that we're doing and between all of client stuff. I mean, number of new clients that have come in recently is really quite high. So dealing with dealing with a high quality problem, which is which is growing pains, right? 1 second here. Yeah, it's basically like onboarding 2 to 3 new guys a week. That's a lot. That's a lot of people to be onboarding a week. So, of course, the reality with any sort of coaching business is that you go through these little lulls. Sometimes it's one person a week. Some weeks you don't have anybody new. But yeah, the last 2 weeks there have been 4 guys that have come in, and I already have a ton of clients. So the backlog has gotten pretty substantial. So it's a lot of stuff. For a couple of things before we get going on this. Well, first off, a lot of you guys have sent me questions in the last few days. I was going to let you know ahead of time. Probably won't get to it on the show. I have a long list of questions to answer, and I'm taking them in order as they were received. So we're going to do the best we can, but they will all be taken care of by tomorrow. That's for sure. So I have another one, 7 p.m. ish tomorrow, where we'll tackle the rest of those. And yeah, that's some of the housekeeping stuff. Also, actually, so there is some more housekeeping. So for those of you who watch this channel and are for some reason not on my list, you got to get on my list. Okay. So you get on my email list, and on my email list, immediately you get my book, a PDF of my book. You can buy my book on Amazon, and I'd appreciate it, of course, if you bought it on Amazon. You get it on Kindle, and at some point I'll get a paperback of it. But it's my book, 3 Pillars of Attraction. It's about 50 pages. It's a small book. It's very dense. And it gives an extremely detailed outline of the 3 pillars of attraction: pre-selection, persona, personality, and how they interact with each other. A solid full half of that book is an exploration of depth psychology and stuff that impacts the personality dynamic between 2 individuals. It's stuff I haven't written or talked about before. And when you go through this book, you will understand how attraction works. You'll get it. It's not going to be a mystery for you any longer. There's not going to be this confusion over, why this person says, well, you got to be rich, or why this person says it's got to be game, or why this person says it's all about just the connection. I break it down in detail, and you see every single input that comes into attraction, and you see exactly how they fit in with each other, the role that they play with each other. So it's very helpful for you as a guy, both to understand your strengths and weaknesses and where to work on things, and also to understand why certain dynamics worked out the way they did or didn't work out. So that's an important thing for my list. To get on my list, it's in the description box below. I have the link to my masterclass and everything, but to get on my list, it's www.patstedman.com/opt-in. Okay, one word, opt-in. You'll also get, in addition to my weekly emails, I do about 3 new emails a week. Only place you can get the content. It eventually goes in the blog, but it's always months afterwards it goes in the blog. So you're not going to get the content in real time unless you're on the list. Also, you're going to get every Monday for the next foreseeable weeks, maybe a year, my best emails sent to your inbox. So now that we got all that stuff taken care of, let's jump into the questions. All right, first question. If she doesn't give you her 20s, don't give her your 30s. This was a quote on Twitter recently. Comment on this, please. Well, my comment on this is that it's a stupid butthurt comment, fundamentally. All right. Um, I this it's such like a so much of the stuff that comes out here is just unbelievably childish. Is this a is this a girl that you knew in your 20s and she was just going around and fucking guys and then, kept you in the friend zone, and then in her 30s she wanted to settle down? Okay, if that's what's happening right here, then don't give her if she doesn't give you your 20s, don't give her your 30s. I get that. Okay. You knew her. She took you for granted. Now she wants something to do with you. You can forget about it. You can axe her. All right. If she's a girl you didn't meet when she was in her 20s, well, maybe she would have given you her 20s. Maybe she would have given you her 20s if she hadn't met you. I mean, just like it's just really stupid, just stupid comments, whiny shit. Like, oh, I'm gonna punish these girls. I'm in my 30s now. You know, I'm the best. And she didn't give me herself when she was in her 20s. We never met, but she didn't give me herself in her 20s. And yeah, she's a cool girl, and yeah, I'm attracted to her, and yeah, I'm in my 30s, and she's a few years younger. She's in her 30s too. I'm not gonna give it to her because she didn't. Like, just dumb shit. It's very tiring to hear a lot of the dumb shit that gets thrown around. But if you want to follow that stuff, you too can have a very dysfunctional dating life. You too can struggle to actually have solid, strong connections with other people, because that's what happens to these individuals. It's a very materialist way of looking at things, and they actively bar connection from their life. They feel like they were used, so then they want to use other people, and that's where they come up with this shit. Okay, so that's my comment on it. All right, now I wrote an email on this next one, but the question is slightly different from what my email addressed. So the comment, what my tweet was referring to a Reddit post, and basically the Reddit post was this guy just got married, and he was a month into the marriage, and he was really disappointed with it because his wife was not this fantasy girl that he dreamed of, and he was bored, and everything just seemed like it was before, except now he had somebody around him. So he's very, very upset that marriage wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect for him. So I said he was a mama's boy. And I said, these guys have extreme Madonna whore issues, take zero responsibility for their own emotions, and expect women to fulfill their every need, get angry and moody when they don't. Married or not, these guys will still be unhappy, significant inner work required. So the question here was, hello, Pat. I feel like this is sometimes me as well. It's a shitty feeling. What can I do about it? Thanks. First thing you can do about it is take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your life and take responsibility for your emotions. And understand that if you think that getting married is going to make you happy, if you think getting married is going to fix your problems, then you are wrong. Marriage will amplify your problems. Okay? Marriage will amplify your problems. But Pat, I thought you were pro marriage. Why would you? Well, if I don't want my problems to get worse, why would I get married? That sounds like a really bad idea to get married, then, Pat. Yeah, well, if you want to solve your problems, sometimes what you need is to have them amplified. Most people don't do anything about their problems, or they deal with problems that are on the surface, that are easy to see. You don't really know who you are until you're close to somebody and you can get reflected back to yourself. We talk about, the three pillars of attraction, right, in my book. Persona and personality, the second and third pillars. Persona and personality, there's a lot of people who get concerned that, using persona the wrong way, that persona can be inauthentic, can be if it's used the wrong way. But what's really interesting here is that, you know, you want to know your personality. What's your personality, right? Well, guys who won't get close to another person, guys who keep them all at arm's length, they are interacting with a persona not only to other people, but to themselves. If you aren't able to get close to somebody, then you don't really know who you are. You don't know who you are. You haven't seen your ugly side. Okay. Your ugly side comes up when you are in close interactions with other people. That's when your ugly side comes up. And so a lot of these guys are content to imagine themselves as some sort of apex alpha male who's totally emotionally regulated, doesn't have any problems. Well, inability to be in a close relationship with somebody else is a pretty good indication of problems. So if they were to get into that, they would see a lot of stuff come up, undoubtedly. So if you don't want this to happen to you, it's very simple. It's very simple. Face your problems. Don't be afraid of dealing with your problems. View the marriage as an opportunity to grow and to change as a person, to clear out karma. Because if you don't, you end up wasting your life. You end up running away from those problems and they come back and haunt you. Everybody who's like, I don't, oh man, I could never, like, I don't want to deal with that stuff. I'd just rather be single. I'd rather, well, um, that tends to change as time goes on. That tends to change as time goes on, first off. And second off, it is, there's a, most of the guys who say that continue to return to where to trying to get close to a girl again. They continue to talk about it. I'll mention one last thing before we move on to the next question. One of the things that's very amusing to me about some of the darker sections of the red pill community, etc., sometimes this is MGTOW or black pill sometimes, is that they talk about all this stuff about how, you know, they know the truth, they're not going to get involved with women, they're not going to care about this stuff. Well, look, if you know the truth about women, that women are crap and that marriage is bad and that it's a bad deal for you, then why are you still talking about it? Obviously, if that's, you know, if you don't want that, then go ahead and live your life. Okay, you don't want it. I never hear happy bachelors talk shit about marriage. They just go and live their life. They just do their own thing. You know, they enjoy beautiful women and they focus on their projects. And it's the guys who actually really want to get married that complain about marriage all the time, right? Unconscious projection. So always pay attention to that. It's weird to fixate on something you don't want, because when you fixate on something you don't want, you actually become locked towards it. So you don't break free of it. All right. Next question. Hey, Pat, hope all is well. Wondering if you can help me with what hopefully is a simple question. Should I text my ex happy birthday? To give you some background, my girlfriend and I were dating for 2 years and recently broke up a couple months ago on good terms mutually. We haven't communicated with each other since that day after the breakup, but her birthday is this weekend. So I'm wondering if it's out of line to wish her happy birthday via text. I want to do so because I care about her, but I don't want it to be harmful in her anyway if she is still healing, etc. If the breakup was 6 months ago, I wouldn't be thinking about this, but given that it was pretty recent, I thought it would be a nice gesture. Appreciate all your work. Thank you. Well, unfortunately for this person, I think I'm answering this question after the birthday. So if you're watching this, let me know what you did. I'm curious. But basically, you do not have to text her. It's totally up to you, man. It's totally up to you. I mean, personally, I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't, just because when you close the door, keep the door closed. Um, it can send the wrong impression. It can accidentally lead to more communication. There's a lot of things that can come from you saying it. And to a certain extent, she's wondering if you're going to say anything. And so when you don't say anything, you affirm that, yeah, it's really over. When you do, you create ambiguity. So, you know, the way I look at this stuff is, if you want to be nice to somebody, maintain firm boundaries with them. Because actually, at the end of the day, you reaching out to her is about you still on some level wanting to keep good feelings between the two of you. And the reality is that it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that you should try to create bad feelings between the two of you, but you trying to keep yourself in her life in any capacity emotionally, you trying to maintain a reputation with her, an image of yourself post breakup to her in any way, that is you not disconnecting from the relationship. You should not give a fuck what your ex thinks about you. And if she thinks that you should have texted her happy birthday, she wished you would, it hurt her feelings. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay. You ended the breakup on good terms. You were a good guy. Now be a strong guy. And a strong guy will not send that text and leave it. Ben, Ben Foth in the comments, just like red pill dudes who try to say they don't like manipulative whores, but try to get it with manipulative whores. Yes, that's from the previous question. That's true. Also, Ben, you got sharper energy than usual today, bro. Cooling it on the wine must be interesting. Fun as wine is. Well, yeah. Look, so I mean, it could be that. It could be that. I mean, I've just been really on my feet most of the day, and I feel sharp for whatever reason. I'm also under time pressure, so I'm trying to be a little bit more rapid fire with things. But I will just make this little side note because a lot of the guys who've been watching this for 2+ years, we've been doing these streams, know that I always had wine doing this stuff. Um, I decided to stop. I didn't like to feel like I had to drink wine to do a show, and I didn't want to be drinking as much wine as I was drinking. You know, I love it. I'm going to be going out with some friends tonight, and I will be having wine later tonight. I don't like hide from it. You know what I mean? But I only drink it during occasions at this point. Will I always do that? Probably not. Probably in a few months, I'll decide that I want to have wine with dinner on a regular night again. And I'll do it because I do what I want, right? That's the point. I do what I want. And that's the way that you should look at it. You don't want to feel constrained to any habit. You don't want to feel constrained to any ritual. And I think it's also very good if you do really enjoy something to test yourself against it. So you say to yourself, well, I've been having this regularly. Do I need to have it regularly? What happens if I stop having it? That's important because you don't ever want the substance or whatever sort of thing, even if you enjoy it, to become something that you then become dependent on to, it's like when I deal with in coaching, breaking down people's beliefs, what you find very often is that they want one thing, but they can't get it because in between their want, in between their desire and their outcome is a sub pathway. So it's like, well, I can't do that unless this is here, like unless this happens. And so that's what keeps them, doing this habit. I'll give an example with this with drinking. Do like I want to go like have dinner with some friends. I want to go see some people. I want to I'm gonna go do something. I'm gonna go do something social. Do I have to drink for it? Right? Is that a necessary thing? Can I not have fun unless I'm drinking? Right? It's like, well, I love to have fun. I love to go out. Oh, but I don't want to drink so much. But then I'm not gonna be able to go out and have fun. Test that belief all the time. But yeah, I think it's important. If you love something, you have to be willing to set boundaries around it in your life. And I'll tell you guys, it was it's been like 2 weeks now. Super easy, honestly, like super, super easy. Um, because I had been drinking at that point. I probably drink 5 or 6 days a week. I'd have something, maybe not a lot, but I'd have something. It was really easy to cut it off. Because I just didn't want it. I just felt it. But there were elements prior, like, did I logically know that I should back off from drinking months prior. Yeah, I did know that. I did know that. But I didn't do it then because I knew that I wasn't ready for it. Okay. Now, if other people will say, well, manosphere, discipline, you just got to be disciplined and do it. Well, my perspective was that, I mean, this wasn't a life threatening thing by any means. My health is in excellent shape, but I was waiting for myself to emotionally release it. And what I'd say is that, yeah, I know this is going to stop. Um, and I'm going to give it, but I'm not ready yet for it. I know it's going to stop at some point. I can feel it. I could see it happening, but I pulled back from it, right? And this is important because what most people do is they have a habit they want to break. And what they do to break the habit is they get really aggressive against it. They try to fight against it. And so they put themselves in resistance to the habit. And when you put yourself in resistance to the habit, you amplify the habit. Okay. What you want to do is deconstruct the habit and then allow it to collapse on its own. Right. So it's rather than fight against it, you you simply remove the areas, the locks it has on your belief structure, and then you don't put any pressure around it, and ultimately it will shift on its own. Your natural energy will shift it out. This is not a common way people deal with breaking beliefs, and breaking habits, but I break bad habits all the time. Broken bad habit after bad habit after bad habit, because I understand this, and it's one of the things I help do with clients, right? Because they have their own fixations about how they have to operate, and they decide to stay in this whole thing like, I have to do this. No, Pat, you don't understand. I have to stop doing this. The result is that they just amplify the problem. Anthony, good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. All right, let's keep going. Let's see if I can get 2 more questions in here. Little digression there, guys, but I think it's important. That's big lessons for all sorts of habits and beliefs. All right, you talk about this in your article, Should You Steal Another Man's Girl? The infamous article, where the girl might be in a shitty relationship and not get her needs met, various levels of abuse. How can a guy know his girl is not in this boat with her eye out for the door out? Women oftentimes do not make this aware to the guy. Just to clarify, I'm not talking about the aloof guy who doesn't pick up on her signs. How can a guy meet the needs of his woman? And she feels that her efforts are reciprocated. I'm trying to fully understand the question. So, what I basically am gathering from this is that there is a how a guy should know that she's how can a guy know if his I'm just gonna read through this again. Where the girl might be in a shitty relationship and get her needs met, various levels of abuse. I appreciate the questions, guys. Please try to make it uh, understandable. How can a guy know his girl is not in this boat with her eye for the door out? Women oftentimes do not make this aware to the guy. I'm gonna ignore the bottom part. How can a guy meet the needs of his woman and make her feel like her efforts are reciprocated? Because I don't understand it in the context of the rest of the question. But basically, how do you know that a girl is who a girl's this is how I'm going to answer the question. All right, that a girl's in a relationship with another guy and it's a crappy relationship. How do you know that her leaving the relationship is genuinely about you versus her just trying to escape from the relationship? And ergo, how do you know that once she gets out of the relationship that she's going to actually stay with you and not just jump from you too? That's how I'm going to interpret the question, okay? Because it's an interesting thought. Basically, you have to understand that if you are going to ever interrupt the relationship, if you are ever going to interrupt a relationship, and by the way, I'm not anti breaking up somebody else's relationship. I'm not in favor of it, but I've said this before. If if a guy, especially if there's like, if there's no marriage or anything, right? If the two of them are in a relationship or even engaged, and she isn't happy, she's not fulfilled, and you're interested in the woman, you're more interested in her maybe than the guy that she's with. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing it. Let the guy defend his turf. Let the girl make her decision. Shoot your shot, right? Why should she have to stay with somebody that she doesn't really want to? Because this is the thing people have to understand about cheating and these relationships getting broken up. Guys are super freaked out about this kind of stuff. They hate it. They hate hearing about it. They hate when people like me talk about this stuff. The reality is that women, men too, actually, nobody cheats unless, but this is especially true for women, they don't cheat unless there is a reason for them to cheat, unless there is some discrepancy within the relationship. Now, is it possible that the girl has more of a discrepancy within herself? It's a self-sabotaging tendency. She doesn't want to allow herself to be happy. That's totally possible. And that means once you get her, it's going to be a bad situation. But the reality is that guys and girls in relationships only have wandering eyes, like that they were really interested in going after, if there's an emotional need not being met, right? If there's an emotional need not being met. The whole argument that she was hot and I wanted to go after her, she was in front of me. There's obviously some level of truth to it, but if you are really linked up with your partner, if you're really linked up with your woman, and especially if a woman's really linked up with you, she's not going to want to do that. She's not going to want to do it. Cheating comes from lack of connection, fundamentally. Now, you can describe what is the lack of connection. Is it lack of sexual connection? Is it lack of affection? Is it lack of intellectual understanding? Is it lack of, really at the core, feeling understood and accepted by the other person? But you shouldn't get freaked out over this stuff about like taking another guy's girl. You shouldn't get freaked out over it. What you should get freaked out of is being a fucking retard and not understanding how women operate and not understanding how to create a deep connection in a relationship. That's what you should be afraid of, because if you know how to create deep connection in a relationship, you have effectively cheat-proofed your marriage. You understand that? Your relationship is cheat-proof if you understand how to read women and you understand how to create deep connection with them. Okay? Don't worry about, well, what if, this other guy is interested in my girl? Your girl will police it. I talk about this in my masterclass at length. Guys, I have to go. I'm sorry. I think we have good energy right now. We're moving, but I have to go. I have client calls right now. So I got to jump on some client calls. I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m.-ish. And much appreciation, much love. We'll finish the rest of the questions. At least we'll take a den of them. We got so many questions then. All right. I'll see you.